Hello everyone, my name is Mel, also known as RoseSkyPlays, and welcome to my first ever speed build video. I'm posting this both as a way to get out of my comfort zone, but also to celebrate the creation of my Simstober prompt list. Each week has a different theme, and this week's is in the spirit, with the first day being autumn, so I wanted to try out making a sort of early autumn inspired house. I'm building this in Brindleton Bay, which to me has always had some of the most beautiful greenery and autumn foliage of all of the worlds in the game, and it really just sort of led me there. As you can sort of tell with what I'm doing on screen, I'm using a technique from my foundation that involves grabbing these debug fence pieces from Cats and Dog and placing the sort of first floor technically on the second floor so that it floats above it, and it gives this really nice custom foundation effect. I've left it alone for right now, but I will come back to it later and you'll be able to see what the effect looks like a little bit easier. It's just a lot of copying, pasting, and grabbing out those pieces. Um, I've been a Sims player for about 12 years or so now, starting with The Sims 3, and I really started getting into building a lot more in The Sims 4. I've been trying to gain more confidence recently, especially because I'm currently in a graduate program working on getting my teaching license. So, especially with some of the more developments that have led us in the direction of making just online learning better as a whole, one of the skills that I really need to practice is things such as this, such as practicing voiceovers and editing skills. And I'm really hoping that this will be a rewarding sort of experience to be able to work through with you guys. The reason why I ended up creating this sort of Inktober-esque Simstober prompt list was because I was communicating with this Discord community that I'm a part of that's by one of my favorite YouTubers, Sam and Bean. Um, I had posted this sort of old Inktober prompt list that I made when I was drawing a lot more a couple years ago, probably 2020, and then people seemed really interested in it, so I managed to sort of rework it and sort it into these weeks that had different themes and 31 days. And it's meant to just encourage you to want to play the game more, whether that be building or decorating, creating stories, creating Sims, whatever it is, as long as it's Sims related. I also kind of just wanted to make sure that it doesn't put too much pressure onto people, because that's always been one of the things that has been stressful to me in particular about the way that Inktober works, is this pressure of you have to get it done. And I think that one of the ways that we start to lose joy is when we try to put too much pressure on ourselves to do things like that. So one of the reasons why I wanted to split this October sort of into these 5 weeks of general themes as well, is then you can sort of choose your own adventure almost. You can choose how much and what and when of these prompts and these themes you want to take a part of, whether it's you decide that you just want to do the theme for the week and make one creation, or if you want to try to challenge yourself to doing all 31 days. As you can sort of see on screen, we're moving inside now. This ends up just being a one bedroom, one bathroom little house. I didn't make it a tiny home because I wanted to be able to use some features that um, come along with being able to place more tiles easily. There are some workarounds around it that I've used before, but it just didn't feel worth it at the time. I can't quite call this a starter home because I did end up giving myself about 3,000 more dollars or so, give or take, than your average starting funds after buying the lot. But I do think that this turns out really cute, even if it is a little bit simple. The sim that I put in here is a sim that I'm gonna say really loves fall, which that's perfect for this. Um, I made her favorite colors be green and yellow and orange, and I get to go through this process, as you can sort of see, of leaning into some of those paler, more sort of late summer tones of some of these colors. I know that depending on where you are in the world, you can sort of have a different approach to the way that autumn is. I'm from the western part of the United States, so for me, I get a very sort of not quite super duper red in the way that it is in some place like Vermont, but I do get a fairly typical fall here. That's one of the things that I've always grown up with. But right now, especially as we're entering into this 1st of October, just I'm seeing a lot more green still. When I go out, when I take a walk around my neighborhood, I'm seeing all these greens and the beginnings of yellows and oranges, but for the most part, leaves are still on the tree. So I just wanted to be able to reflect that a little bit here. I do end up using the Country Kitchen Kit, partially because I use that stove, but also because it turns out that it has these cabinets that kind of perfectly fit over this more old looking fridge that comes from the Cottage Living EP. And then as you can see here, I'm taking this super cute rug from Seasons and sizing it up using Tool. I really love getting to use the Tool mod and Better Build by Twisted Mexi. I don't think that I could build without it if I'm being perfectly honest. Moving on, we get to go to the bedroom, and I definitely struggle for a minute because I kind of put myself in a weird place. I wanted to be able to have this double bed, especially this one from Horse Ranch because it just had the perfect colors that I was looking for, but trying to make sure that Sims had enough room to get around ended up just taking about a half a tile off of the bathroom, and that solved a lot of my problems. I did temporarily consider some carpet, but as you can see, I very quickly decided against that. And here we can see the floor plan sort of entering into its final iteration with this archway and sort of expanding the kitchen a little bit and adding a tiny dining nook. It's not quite a nook, but it's close enough. And because this is a budget build, I wasn't able to completely clutter this the way that I normally would. I usually like to put a lot more in the kitchen and in the bedroom on things like the dresser, but I really just I didn't end up having the funds for that. I ended up in that very end going for more more skill building activities, be that the computer or the garden plots. I did end up sizing down this cute little side table from Seasons, and I'm using the OMSP red shelf, which you may have seen other creators use before. It's just a shelf that you can really easily free place, and then you can place items using move objects onto it at that height and move them away, and they will stay at that height. And I was really proud of here. You can see me considering putting those little glasses on top of that teeny tiny little journal, but instead I put them on the new stack of books. Or, sorry, not a new stack of books, but the stack of books that we got some new sort of swatches for in the recent update, which was very exciting when you're in the Sims building community. I remember when we got just a plain white shelf for the first time, and people were like, wow, Simmers, man, we're really, really excited for something as simple as a plain white shelf. It's kind of crazy just how much the build of even just base game has changed since I can remember starting playing it. I was a little bit late to starting with The Sims 4 just because I still had Sims 3 and I was entering into college. And this was back, of course, when The Sims 4's base game alone was still running for about, $60. I think about halfway through that freshman year of college was when I caught one of those sales where it was, I think, $5 at the time. And it's kind of crazy to see how much it spiraled out because I don't think even Seasons was out when I originally got it. Um, and now, I mean, Seasons is one of my favorite build packs. It was one of my favorite packs in The Sims 3 as well. So I'm just really excited to be able to use all of these packs and to be able to be creative. It's always been a really wonderful creative outlet for me. And you can see me using these cute little curtains. I always love the excuse to sort of decorate a house for the holidays in The Sims. I usually, in my own personal playing, I usually play a lot of sort of rags to riches type of gameplay. So, more often than not, we're not really focusing on cute little decorations and curtains for every window that have cute little fall leaves on them and everything. We're focusing on things like, I don't know, getting an actual bathroom that is functional and all that wonderful little things. I'm using the cottage living rewards, early order reward little bike there, which if you don't have that, you could probably pretty easily either, I mean, you can either take it out completely or just replace it with one of the other ones from another pack. I'm gonna start moving on to the landscaping here, and this is the moment in which I realized that even though it was on a different floor, I was not going to be able to connect that fence. And let me tell you, I was very disappointed for a second, and then I went, it's okay, I'll just cover it with plants. Because as isn't that the way of landscaping in The Sims? When in doubt, just cover it with a cute little plant. I start by laying out the backyard. I did temporarily consider, and I'm like, we could maybe try out, you know, fencing the front yard, but most of the time in these builds, I'm just like, I don't really think it needs to be fenced unless it's a very particular suburban type of house. I like a lot more of a natural landscaping, and as you can see, I use these debug low-lying flowers from Cats and Dogs specifically um, to sort of fill out some of the places and sort of place these pseudo gardening beds of where I want to do plants. And this is pretty consistent for me for how I tend to do my landscaping. I'll pick some sort of low-lying flower and sort to, I don't know, sketch sounds like a word, maybe. And then I'll pick out other plants and sometimes flowers. This time I mostly stuck with these hostas, which I am still obsessed with these hostas. Right now they're all just the same color. I'm using the debug version and lifting up a few so that they sort of poke their heads out a little bit more of those low-lying flowers. But I really love these. That's one of the reasons I like building in Brindleton Bay too, is because they're actually, you can see them in the world and in other parts of this pack. And here I am going through and just sort of recoloring all of those, which once again, I'm only able to copy and multiple place all this stuff and recolor these debug items because of that Twisted Mexi better build by. And moving on here, I get a little tiny cute tree, and I think about a big tree, and then we sort of move on towards the front, and here's where I start grabbing out some of those little cottage living mushrooms. I love these little mushrooms. And what is fall truly without a cute little mushroom, let's be honest. And then I think, oh, I can see here make a I make a sort of more substantial area for the mailbox to be. Did I place I did place a trash can, good. I was real concerned. I don't think I placed a trash can on the inside, but I did place one on the outside, so that's a win for me. And here I am just kind of filling in dirt underneath my temporary my like little foundation-y thing, and then going through and sort of just outlining all of my little garden areas that I made. And then I'm gonna go along with just a really light touch of this and sort of have some dirt collected around all of my paths. I've been teased before about not doing that in the past, but it's more or less a practice that I try to keep to now. And then I just take some of that sort of half stamped down grass. I just think that especially, I think in this one I kind of placed some items that could imply having like a small dog or maybe a cat. And especially like with a small dog, I can just see them sort of running around in the backyard, and to me it's just a little bit more realistic to have some sort of tamped down grass. Oh, and here I am finally grabbing that computer. Um, It's just the cheapest computer. I thought about putting a laptop for a second, but I'm like, I kind of want to see if I can maybe get a back patio chair. And then here's me deciding, oh, no, I want a table. And I think the last thing that I add other than lighting is just those two. I add like two teeny tiny planter boxes in that sort of brown tone that I've been using throughout the build, and I think I get some cute little gardening tools to go with them. You can tell that I forgot to put it back off of night. I was mostly on night so that I could see how much was getting lit up by these different lamps. And with that, we're going to come into some screenshots. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed it, and I do hope to see that some of you share your own Simstober creations. With that, I'm wishing you guys a great week.